You are listening to Hillary Topper on Air. And now, here's your host, Hillary Topper.
Hello, and welcome to Hillary Topper on Air. I'm your host, Hillary Topper. We often talk about planning for the future with the assumption that family will be there to help. But what happens when that's not the case? A growing number of adults are aging without a spouse or children to rely on for support. They're what we call solo agers. This brings up unique challenges and a critical need for proactive planning. How do you ensure your financial, legal, and healthcare wishes are honored when you're navigating the journey on your own? To help us answer these questions, we've recruited Eric J. Einhart, who is an attorney at the Russo Law Group. Eric specializes in elder law and estate planning and is here to help. Today, we're going to dive into the world of solo agers. We'll discuss the essential legal documents they need, how to build a reliable support network, and the steps to take now to ensure a secure and independent future. All right, so let's jump right in. Eric, thank you so much for being here. A very warm welcome to the show.
A pleasure being here. Thank you for having me on, Hillary.
So, can you give us a little update about your background and, just a little bit about the firm?
Sure. My name is Eric Einhart. I'm a partner with the Russo Law Group. The Russo Law Group is an estate planning, elder law, and special needs planning law firm that serves clients all over Long Island and throughout the New York City area in the areas of estate planning, elder law, and special needs planning. I became a partner in 2018, and I work in the elder law department, the special needs department, the estate planning, guardianship, and trust and estate administration. I also lead our firm's tax department as well. And we have 3 different locations. We have a location in Garden City, which is where I predominantly practice out of. We have an office in Islandia, and we have an office in Lido Beach. And we will see clients all over the country and the world via Zoom anytime they want, and certainly go travel to meet with them if the travel accommodations are reasonable. I don't know, I'll take a flight to meet somebody outside the country, but who knows? Maybe I would. Depends on where it is. I'm also this year the president of the National Academy of Elder Law Attorneys, NALA, which is it's a membership association for elder law attorneys throughout the country. We have about 4,000 members, and it's a great honor and a privilege for me to be in a position to lead that organization and to be a leader in the industry and the practice area. I feel like we have a great opportunity to impact the lives of our clients through this opportunity, and I'm grateful for the chance to help out whenever I can.
Well, congratulations on that. Thanks. So let's start by defining the term solo ager. What is the demographic of this, and why is it rapidly growing?
Yeah, so solo ager just that is a term of art that means many different things to many different people. There's also a number of different names that people refer to when they're referring to really this demographic. None of the names are particularly appropriate or nice in my opinion. There's also elder orphans, adult orphans, kinless seniors, solo agers. My favorite of the bunch, which I don't really love any of them quite honestly, is solo agers. And for purposes of this conversation, solo agers are defined as older adults who live alone, are not married or partnered in a long-term relationship, and they have no children or whose children may live far away, estranged, or may have special needs that can help in their needs as they age. So it's really older adults, breaking that down, statistically means 55 and older. I know that may not be popular with people who are in the late 50s to hear that, but they're considered an older adult for purpose of the statistic. And when I talk about not having, a traditional family support network like children, they may have children, as I mentioned, but they just may not be in a position to help out, or they may not be an appropriate option to help out their parent as they age. And this is not a phenomenon or statistical anomaly in some sort of fringe demographic. According to the US Census Bureau, released in 2021, there's about 22 million million adults, 55 and older, that live alone. And of that population, 27 or 28% of the population that live alone are childless. And there was a statistic that came out in earlier this month by AARP that kind of bumps that number up to about 24 million, and then
Wow.
about 7 or 8 million people who qualify as a solo ager. So it is a growing population, and it's an important one in our practice for sure.
Absolutely. So, talk to us about the most significant legal and practical challenges that solo agers face compared to their peers who have spouses
And children, yeah.
and
So
children.
yeah, no, so that is a great question, and they face a lot of the same challenges as we all face as we age, and the same concerns, but theirs is a more heightened concern due to the lack of that traditional family support network that is relied upon. So on a practical level, and me as an attorney, the most challenging aspect of representing a client like this is their ability to have a pool of applicants of people who could serve in a caregiving capacity and people who could serve as a fiduciary. So, for instance, I meet with a married couple and they have kids and they're thinking about establishing a durable power of attorney, healthcare proxy, HIPAA authorization, a trust, a will. When I ask them who are they thinking about serving in the roles of fiduciary, person who's going to help them out, being the agent under the power of attorney or a healthcare proxy, or a person that's going to manage the trust for them when they pass away or become incapacitated, usually 9 times out of 10, there is a quick and ready list of children that they have available to identify for those roles. Not always, and then sometimes their children are not the most appropriate position or people to be in that position, but they have a deep bench of people, so to speak, that can fill that role. With solo agers, they do not typically have that deep bench of people. What they do have sometimes is a family of choice, which is people that are close to them, whether they're fellow congregants in their place of worship or neighbors or longtime friends or maybe even a college roommate or something. Those people can be their family of choice and they could be put in those positions, but that may not be available always. And even when they do have a family of choice, we want to try to vet that family of choice and make sure that there's not a fox in the hen house, so to speak. So
Yeah.
from the most practical aspect of this, the most challenging is really identifying people who are trusted and have an interest in serving in a fiduciary capacity or as a caregiver.
Hmm. So, from your experience, what are some of the most common misconceptions that solo agers have about planning for their future?
So a lot of them are concerned that number one, it's going to be too expensive, and my response to that is really it's more expensive not to plan because the fallout of not planning ahead of time is going to be it could be devastating. It could be a loss of autonomy. It could be um, an involvement of the court system, which could exacerbate any cost associated with your legal planning, or it could just result in a waste of resources because you don't have somebody who's in a position to manage them, and if you're not able to, or medical decisions. So the cost is usually number one. That's not unique to solo agers. That's generally speaking a lot of people's first concern, but it certainly is as solo agers as well. Another big concern that they have or misconception is that their their independence may be limited as a result of their selection of these kinds of fiduciaries, and that's definitely something that I address right off the bat, and I only suggest planning options that they're comfortable with. So a lot of times solo agers are fiercely independent individuals. They've either been an advocate themselves for a loved one, like a parent or a disabled child, or for themselves if they're a member of marginal population like LGBTQ plus or disability community, and they want to maintain that autonomy, and they want to um, not to have restrictions in any way, especially as it relates to their money. And
Right.
I definitely will always work with clients to make sure that they only go so far as they're comfortable with any kind of relinquishing any kind of authority or control. So that's generally the two major misconceptions that we see.
So, talk to us a little bit about some of the most critical legal documents that every ager should have in place and why.
Um, well, these documents are really important, in my opinion, for anybody who's over the age of 18 and has capacity, but certainly solo agers would fall into that category. It's a durable power of attorney, a healthcare proxy, a HIPAA authorization, a living will, depending on their end of life care wishes, and they should all definitely have a burial designation, which is technically it's called an appointment of agent to control disposition of remains, but we call it a burial designation because that's a mouthful. Also, they should have, in my opinion, a living trust and definitely a last will and testament. Those documents, the first few documents I talked about, the power of attorney, the healthcare proxy, the HIPAA authorization, those will all make sure that their needs are met while they're alive. If they lose capacity, whether it be temporarily or permanently, and there will be the people that they've chosen to make financial and medical decisions, not the people that a court has chosen through a guardianship proceeding. So those are very important documents to make sure that their autonomy is maintained vis-a-vis the fiduciaries that they have identified themselves. The living trust can also be a part of that as well, because you could fund the living trust with your resources, and the trustee of the living trust could manage the money for your benefit for the rest of your life, depending on the terms of the trust. But that's also an important document during the person's lifetime. The living trust and the will are also important documents to make sure that their legacy planning or their estate planning is administered in a way that they're comfortable with, that they want. Their wishes are honored when they pass away. So during their lifetime, it's the power of attorney, the healthcare proxy, the HIPAA authorization, and the living trust and the living will. Upon their passing, the living trust becomes also still important, and the last will and testament are also important as well.
So, how often would you recommend a solo ager to revise or review their documents?
It's a great question. It's either, in my opinion, the earlier of the occurrence of a major life event, and a major life event could be a marriage, a divorce, a birth, a death, a windfall of a lot of money, or a reduction in your resources or income, or the earlier of that, or every 5 years. So if life is going along, nothing major is happening. Every 5 years, I'd like to meet with my clients. It could be sooner than that. We meet with many clients on an annual basis as a check-in, and that's very helpful both to us and to them, to make sure that things are still running smoothly, and that things are working the way they want them to work. But very least, major event in your life or 5 years, I want to see you.
Awesome. So, I have so many friends who are married, they don't have children. If one of the spouses die, right? What are some of the best strategies for building a reliable support team for that person who's
Planning
living?
early and planning often. I think that um, while the spouse is alive, that would be great for them to have planning done together. But I think it's worth as soon as possible meeting with a qualified attorney who can help them not only um, administer the estate of their spouse, and make sure that the resources that they're entitled to and the income that they're entitled to is in place, but they can plan for the future. And we as attorneys, not only do we provide legal advice, but we can also, and we often do, act as kind of like a spoke in a wheel of different professionals in the lives of our clients, So we can, help work with a financial advisor or connect them with a qualified financial advisor who gets it and understands the needs that they're going to have moving forward. We can connect them with insurance agents for potentially long-term care insurance or life insurance needs or homeowners insurance, any kind of insurance needs. You could also connect them with potential caregivers, professional caregivers that could provide guidance and support as they age, accountants, you name it, any kind of resource that they need. A lot of times, us as elder law attorneys will have, our virtual Rolodex or our hit list of people that we know are in this world and can help out our clients. And we like to assemble or help our clients assemble a team and meet with that team and make sure things are running smoothly. So, there's a lot of things that we could do to help out clients, especially in that situation. The person passes away and they're now find themselves, kind of alone or feeling alone. We can absolutely help them plan and come up with a team or a pit crew to make sure that they're doing okay now and in the future.
That's awesome. Thank you for that. So what are some practical steps that solo agers can take to ensure their wishes are respected if they face incapacity or need long-term care?
I think the first thing is to make sure that you have the right legal documents in place. As I mentioned before, the power of attorney, the healthcare proxy, the
Mhm.
HIPAA authorization, and perhaps a living trust would make sense to identify. First of all, to identify the people that's going to be put in a position to manage those affairs, and also to have kind of a venue or a platform to say what you wanted to have done. Those documents can express your wishes as well, to the extent that they're limiting and not able to be, all encompassing of your expression, the person's expressions or their desires. I would say write it out. Like
Mhm.
I routinely suggest clients um, write letters essentially, or kind of a memo of their intent for things. So a big one that kind of seems silly, but it's really not. It's important to a lot of people, including myself. But if you're a pet owner, right, and you have a beloved cat or a beloved dog or a cockatoo or whatever it is you have, and you want to make sure that somebody's there to make, manage your pets, if you're maybe laid out in a hospital somewhere or in a temporarily in a rehab facility or a more long-term situation like a nursing facility, you want to identify that. You could certainly identify the person to help manage that in your trust or in your power of attorney, but you may want explicit, like this is the food they eat, this is this is the name of their vet. You want to have some sort of memorandum. That's just
Mhm.
one example with pets, but that extends to other areas of your life as well. So write letters, write memorandums, have conversations with the people that you're appointing in these positions. Make sure they're comfortable with it and make sure that they understand the responsibilities that go along with it. And us as counsel, we can help give them, more concrete information about what's at stake, what's involved um, in serving in that role. So not only do we counsel the client, sometimes we're providing information and answering questions for the people that they want to put in the position of authority if they lose capacity. So talk to your people and give them instructions. That's the best way to make sure that their wishes are going to be honored. If they don't give them
That's,
instructions, they're just kind of guessing and shooting in the dark. So
yeah. Great advice. So this is something I think that a lot of people have in the back of their minds, right? How can solo agers protect themselves from financial exploitation or elder abuse? I mean, and I guess that really goes for anybody. It's not just solo agers. I mean, every all older Americans or, could experience this. So what would you suggest they do to protect themselves?
well, so that's definitely a concern for us as elder law attorneys. Elder abuse is a really horrible situation and that is a very, very common problem. Um, there is not one solution. My opinion is that the more that we um, normalize elder abuse, and when I say normalize, I don't mean like to make it normal to be abused, but to maybe this is a better way of saying it, to destigmatize being a
Mm.
victim of abuse, I think is crucial. I think the conversations about abuse need to happen in all walks of life, whether it's with the doctor, with an accountant, with a financial advisor, with your elder law attorney, with your loved ones and people that you know, to make sure that people don't feel um, that they are ashamed or embarrassed or concerned about expressing the fact that they've been a victim is absolutely paramount, because the more that they'll talk about it, the more it can be prevented in the future, and the more that you hear about someone else's victimization, you could then feel a little more comfortable in standing up to it, or thinking twice before you allow something to happen, right? So I think normalizing it in our society, or at the very least making sure that people don't feel like their autonomy is going to be at stake if they disclose that they've been a victim, or that they're going to be continue to be victims if they tell on somebody. You know, we got to make sure that the people who fall victim to this are confident that them speaking out about it is not going to be a negative thing. It's only going to be a positive thing and prevent it in the future, and may help save somebody from financial ruin or even death. So it's important to make it a front and center in our society, and we help the people that need to be helped. I think another thing is to disclose it to your counsel. If you have an attorney and you're meeting about, even something like estate planning, talk about it. They are definitely not going to do anything, to cause you to lose independence. They're your attorney, and they can help you and provide you with guidance and support during that, or perhaps even, pursue action against the bad actors and recover some money, hopefully. So definitely talk to your attorneys about it. But beyond that, talk to your loved ones and other appropriate parties in your life. Another a big risk of abuse for solo agers in particular is something called self-neglect. So this is a very common form of abuse that impacts solo agers in particular. Self-neglect in older adults threatens their health, their safety, and generally manifests itself by a failure for the individual to provide themselves with adequate food, water, clothing, shelter, personal hygiene, and medication. So it may seem kind of contrary to logic, but some people, they stop caring for themselves, and when you're a solo ager, it's very difficult um, for someone else to pick up on it to help you. So if you know people who are solo agers, check in on them more frequently than you might otherwise do. Because they may need somebody to stop and say hi, or check out their environment, see what's going on, right? So if I am concerned about my mom or dad, I'm going to walk in the house. I'm going to say, "Hey, Dad, what's going on with the roof here? Mom, how come you haven't taken your medication? Dad, what's going on with there's no food in the fridge? What are you doing?" But if you don't have that network, those people are going to come in and kind of make sure things are going right, it could be devastating for you. So try your best to reach out to others that are in that situation.
I mean, I
Get help.
guess like, like a community organization or a
Oh
faith
yeah,
group would be a very good place to start there. Um,
there's an organization in New York called I'm going to pronounce it wrong, The Road, and it's great. It's a great organization that has it basically connects generations with solo agers. Generate
mm,
people in their own generation, people in younger generations. They have great chat rooms. They have great connections. They have calling campaigns. So there are a lot of organizations out there. Dorot, DROT is the name of the organization that I'm thinking of, and that's a local one. That's in New York.
that's awesome. Thank
From
you for sharing that. So, what's the most important piece of advice you would give someone listening today who identifies as a solo ager?
I would suggest to, if you have not already come up with a plan, like a long-term care plan, then that should be something that's front and center. I'm not suggesting that you need to give away any resources or do backflips in order to become eligible for Medicaid or any other means-based government benefits program, but you really should sit down with a qualified elder law attorney to kind of think through what you're envisioning the game plan is for you as you age, the financial reality of that, and then connect with long-term care insurance agents, financial advisors, accountants to try to set you up for success as you age. The sooner you start the planning, the sooner you can get on a path that will lead you to a place you want to be. So my suggestion is to start planning as soon as possible. And that you may not be able to immediately come up with the best game plan right then and there, but you're starting the process and you're moving in the right direction. It could be
Absolutely.
very overwhelming to think of it like, I got to get all this stuff now. Take the first step. That's all you got to do.
Yeah, definitely. And how can the Russo Law Group assist solo agers in navigating these unique challenges?
Um, we meet with them and find out their goals, find out their hopes and dreams and wishes. Again, their financial situation and what their care needs are currently and what they may need in the future, and try to map out a game plan for them and stick with it. We want to be your lawyer for life, and we want to make sure that you have the highest quality of life possible. And the best way we could do that is to meet with you and to work with you in order to accomplish that. So that's true for solo ager clients and non-solo ager, all clients that we work with. That's our goal, and that's what we try to do with solo agers in particular. I feel like we have a skill set in this area. I mean, I've written for a number of publications about this topic. I've lectured nationally and locally on this topic, so we have a good understanding of how this works and some great options for solo agers. So just give us a call, shoot us an email, set up an appointment, and we'll help you on your way.
And with the email and phone number and website, can you just share that with our listeners again?
Sure. All right. So our website is vjrussolaw.com. And our telephone number is 516-683-1717. And if you want to email me, that's fine. My email is EJEINHART. So EJ Einhart at vjrussolaw.com.
Terrific. Thank you so much for
No
being
problem.
on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
This show was produced by Hillary Topper and sponsored by the Russo Law Group, Long Island's signature elder law, estate planning, and special needs law firm. For more information, visit vjrussolaw.com. And PlayTry, your multi-sport specialist for all your triathlon needs. They have so many opportunities, including franchising. If you love the sport of triathlon, check out playtry.com and learn more about opportunities, or if you want to shop there, check them out. They've got great prices and they've got amazing customer service.